What's up guys, this is Fuzed from Exile. I want to take a break from war for a moment to talk to you about updates, the last of which brought us the Air Sweeper. A lot of people complain about updates. They don't come fast enough, they don't have enough content, they don't affect enough players. We used to get an update about once a month, but let's think about that for a moment. Clash of Clans is nearly 3 years old. We have a much more mature game than we used to have. Supercell is very careful to test every new feature that they bring to the game. With a bigger, more robust game, that means bigger and longer testing. More testing, which involves more pieces of the game. There are more troops now than there have been before, and if they bring out a new defense, they have to test each of those troops with the new defense. If they bring out a new troop, they have to test that troop with all the defenses in the game and all the other troops. We don't want to have another situation where everyone's using hogs to kill bases that are 2 town hall levels above them. Because the next thing that happens is, of course, inevitably, they have to nerf the defense that's too overpowered or the troop that's too overpowered, and people complain about that. Supercell has revealed to us on the forums that there are 15 people working on Clash of Clans. That's from the top to the bottom, from the people who code the game to the people who promote the game. There are millions of Clash of Clans players, and unfortunately the few people who are working on the game, they're not going to come up with every scenario that millions of players are going to. That's part of the reason it takes so long testing item after item to make sure that it's as perfect as possible. After they release the update, they do live testing with actual people, with actual data. And I don't know all the inner workings of Supercell, but I can tell you that for every minute spent testing the game, that's probably another minute not spent coding the game. Which means if there's a month of testing, there's going to be, again, another month probably of coding that goes along with that, which is why we now get 2 months between updates rather than just 1. Another common complaint that people throw out there is that the new updates, they only cater to the top-end, high-level players. Well, let's think about that for a moment. You got a player who's maybe halfway through the game or just starting out, and you got another player who's at the end. He doesn't have any buildings or troops to max out any further. Maybe his walls and heroes are even maxed out. He's only in the game for maybe war, and then what else? What else? He needs new content. New content. If a Town Hall 8 wants new content, all he has to do is upgrade to Town Hall 9. And there's a whole new Town Hall worth of content there for him. If a Town Hall 10 wants new content, he's got to wait for an update. Let's go back to the Air Sweeper update for a moment. A lot of people complain. They say, we waited this long and all we got was a leaf blower, or we waited this long and all we got was a hairdryer. Well, there's a lot more to that Air Sweeper than just that. There's a lot more to that update than just the Air Sweeper. I've seen the Air Sweeper turn 3-star attacks into 2 stars, 2 stars into 1 stars. I've seen them turn successful raids into failures. It doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. It does affect raids. It does affect air troops. Just 2 wars ago in our clan, a 3-star attack was turned into a 1-star attack by an Air Sweeper. It can happen, and it does. It doesn't happen every time, but it counts when it does. The Air Sweeper wasn't the only thing we got in the last update, though. There was more behind the scenes and under the hood than a lot of people realize. First of all, there was an adjustment made to matchmaking. Previously, only trophy level was taken into consideration when looking for a multiplayer matchup. If you were a player at 2,000 trophies and you're searching for an opponent, you're going to find another opponent that was about 2,000 trophies as well, regardless of Town Hall level. And what they've done since the update, they've made it so that Town Hall level is taken into consideration as well. You're still going to match up with someone around the same trophy level as you, but it's going to look for someone that's at about your same Town Hall level. A lot of farmers will intentionally drop down into a lower league to find easier loot. Players who drop down into the lower leagues, they do so because they can pick on the little guys and easily take their loot. However, their loot is pretty well protected because the other players in that league, for the most part, they don't stand a chance against taking the loot from them. In a sense, these high-level players in lower leagues are hiding. They're hiding from the people who can get them. However, this last update, with the change in the matchmaking, it's changed that a bit. Town Hall 10 players are now finding Town Hall 10 players amongst the sea of 7 and 8s. In other words, if you have rushed your base, look out, because hiding in a lower league may not necessarily be as much of a success for you as it has been before. This actually makes it easier to find loot. If you are a Town Hall 10 player and all you are finding, or mostly finding, is Town Hall 10 players, you don't have a loot penalty to contend with. And if you find a Town Hall 9 player now and then, it's only a 10% decrease in what would normally be available. So it's a lot easier to fill up those storages faster. There is one other thing that they added to the previous update, something that doesn't really get talked about, but it's actually one of the biggest parts of the update. Previously, if you started a war attack and you didn't drop a troop, then you could end the war attack without any penalties. It was as if the attack never occurred. Well, some people in the game were manipulating that system in order to cheat.
How do they cheat? Well, cheaters find their ways. One method, called ghost raiding, was an exploit of the airplane mode, which allowed people to practice on your base over and over, finding all of your trap locations and seeing what is in the clan castle, and being able to continuously practice on the base until they have a way to crack it. Well, Supercell has added an attack confirmation screen, and on this screen are the troops in your camps, the troops in your clan castle, the status of your heroes, and the spells in your spell factory, along with the warning that says, don't start the attack unless you want it to count, because there's no turning back. Another way people do this is by using third-party software on jailbroken iOS devices and rooted Android devices in order to run an exploit known as sandboxing. Sandboxing is very similar to ghosting. The countermeasure of Supercell's did not completely disable sandboxing, but it crippled it quite a bit. Without getting into too many details, you could say that Supercell has taken the toys out of the sandbox. Another way people cheat is by using bot attacks. Bots are not used in war, but in regular multiplayer matchmaking. A bot can keep nexting past the bases which have minimal loot and wait until it finds one that has a minimum amount which is set by the user, and then drop troops in a predetermined pattern around the base. I personally don't know why anyone would choose to play the game this way, because really they're not playing the game at all. A computer is. The attack playing in the background right now is a bot attack that I received quite some time ago. You can tell it's a bot attack because of the deployment of the troops and the spacing between them. Troop deployment is very robotic, the troops are not aimed toward resources, and the town hall wasn't even taken down, which was completely unprotected in the back corner. Bots are able to request and donate troops, boost barracks, and search for bases over and over again. As you can see on the screen, they are terrible attackers, which means they don't win all of their raids. However, they have unusually high number of wins, which means they're raiding a lot. At the time that this attack was recorded, bots were all Chinese. You had to be able to understand Chinese in order to be able to follow the directions. Robotic, nonsensical troop deployment, an absurd number of attacks won, and all of this on a Chinese account made this an easy bot to spot. Early bots were easy to spot, but the more recent ones are able to add more human-like interaction, and they're available in English now. The fact that these bots exist isn't so much the problem as is the fact that they specifically seek out the bases with all the loot, and then they shield them, taking them out of the economy. So let's summarize. Supercell has taken more time with updates these days, not because they're killing the game off, but because they need to take more time with the updates in order to do it right. Since I started working on this video, the next update has hit, and it includes a second air sweeper. See, that first one, you may have thought it was weak, but they were testing it. They didn't want to just come out with two and find out that they were overpowered and then have to cut them back. This was smart. They released the first one, they analyzed the data, and they decided that there is room in the game for two. They made matchmaking better, and they made it easier to find loot. Let's not forget what they've done to curb cheating. They've completely removed ghosting from the game, and they've made sandboxing a little more difficult. Just look at the sandboxers crying. So there you have it. The air sweeper update was seemingly small, but it was very large behind the scenes. It also happened to lay the groundwork for an even bigger update. So the next update we get, if it's a smaller one, don't jump to the conclusion that the sky is falling. It's fallen before and we've survived. We'll be alright. And keep in mind, there may be more to it than meets the eye. That'll be it for this episode. I'll see you next time for more war.